deepest part of the school.
Thank you. Thank you.
That sounds easier.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Alright.
There's the man with the can.
Hey Dan.
How are you, man?
Hey, good. John.
Rob.
Hi.
Hello, guys.
Wheels keep turning in her head. Yeah. So.
I'm her sister, yes. That's my
Hi.
brother-in-law.
Hello.
Basically the same way with Misty and Audrey, because they look alike. And their son just got married. Did you see that on there?
No, we have a son that's old enough to got married. Wow.
Does it keep it still?
What? No. Hi, Susie.
Howdy.
Vicky.
Just go around the house. Is it fly? Yeah, I gave you some water.
Yeah, Liza didn't know that her
I like this. Where'd she go?
Jimmy named his boy Jim. He said, yeah, it's fun in their house.
Jim.
Junior high.
I didn't like that. You get like riding it?
Oh yeah, the whole next day at school, they're like, dude, your brother's on the news. I'm like, okay. They're like, you're on the news too. And I'm like, I am?
The next day at school, everyone said, you on the news.
Yeah.
They even put it on the local news station.
This is Logo.
And you're invited?
Honey, are you running solo?
I'm right here.
Getting some stuff.
You met Becky?
At the 70th birthday party.
Seemed like yesterday. I'm in the middle of doing the painting right now, so I'll probably finish it next week. That's good.
Little less wide. Yeah, that's all.
I'm just doing back to my, yeah.
Are you taking it?
How are you?
Hi. I don't remember your name.
Victoria, it's not a secret. So what are you really right
I can't fall asleep sitting. I'm gonna have to be lying down.
Hi. That's a
So
And now she's gonna live in the RV?
So now hopefully she gets a whole, so they said they're guaranteed. So, yeah, so hopefully, yeah. I don't remember you.
And this is not our baby's daughter. Probably. Yeah, very Hi,
You know, at your leisure. So, lots of pictures of you girls.
Martha, this is Jim. This is Jack's brother, Jim. This is my wife, Martha.
Hi, Jim. I'm Martha.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Sorry.
Sweet.
I don't like to sleep too much,
But it sounds just like John.
You are or you did?
Now it sounds like Dad. He says a little toddy for the body. Totally sounds like something John would say
No more
too.
of this.
Sounds like John.
I know. I thought it was John.
Who is Jack?
I'm pretty sure it's Jack.
Oh,
funny.
There's something, Jack. So the best.
Well, 'cause
An hour flight and they light up on you on the dock like that.
Yeah, we did too. Boy, he's
I was looking at somebody was asking me.
We all checked into our hotel. We're staying at the extended stay.
all right.
I know you're not going to know anybody.
Attention, need clean up on aisle 4. I mean, food's ready. Food's ready.
Thank you.
So the scene in the video right now is an auction. It was a charity auction, 1987 or 88. And Dad and Kathy were already together, boyfriend and girlfriend. And Dad told her that he didn't want anybody else to win the bid for him. It's a bachelor auction. So he gave her a blank check. And he's raising the bid here. He's paying it himself. And she ended up paying $700 for him.
The highest.
The highest, but by far the highest bachelor sold that evening.
I want to know who I was bidding against.
Yeah, I gotta zoom in on your face.
Well, here's to you, Jack.
Thanks for the grub.
Thanks for the grub, baby.
Well,
Spy cam.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where is he? I haven't seen him.
Oh, he's just over there.
He's around somewhere.
He's over there somewhere. I just saw him a minute ago. He's helping with the food, I think.
maybe you can fix all of his heads. Does she? He can fix us.
How come I was with
All of my 20s, all of my 30s.
Logan, put it in the water. Thank you. He's giving it back to you so you can put it back where it goes.
I don't know. Good. Hey, hands off. Come on, stop that. You dirty old man, you.
Mary, how do you do?
Yeah, Mary was here for the party, Jack's 70th.
No, John.
John, friend of mine and Jack.
I saw you over at the island.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had a rational party. That's year to year. Depends how the year goes.
the bottom left-hand corner.
Bottom left. It doesn't rain. It
Adelaide is the bottom right-hand corner.
they started shooting your water years there. For a few years there, it was getting bad.
I'll distract you. You turn it down, okay?
Logan.
Logan.
I'll find it. That's hard to do.
Is that a half?
You hear that? Oh, it's on the record.
I'm a witness.
Okay, sorry to interrupt everybody.
We have an echo.
Yeah, I'm gonna sing the national anthem.
Please don't.
Okay, got rid of that. If anybody has anything they want to say about Jack, can you guys hear me okay back there? Okay. That's why we have this microphone and speakers. If you don't, that's fine too. We all appreciate your presence, and that says a lot. I do want to talk a little bit about my dad. In making these videos, we really started transferring and watching these old tapes the day he died, actually. We came back here, and that night, and for several days, that's all we did was just kind of marathon watch these old tapes. And now, especially the past week, doing all this editing, going through and watching all this footage, and a lot of footage I didn't include, but just things that that were recorded. You'll see a theme. Obviously he's really into boats and water, water skiing and just being near the ocean and nature and stuff. He liked to sing, obviously, and he's a pretty good singer. I think it's kind of interesting. There's a lot of houseboat footage, and I don't know if you know, but he was actually burned up in a houseboat in like 1976-ish. So I think it's all that footage in here is after that happened. I don't know if I got burned up on a houseboat if I'd actually want to be on one after that, but he seemed to take it in good stride and be pretty confident about it. And boating is a big part of his life, and I guess I want to talk a little bit about that. I don't know if you guys ever heard the story where he went on a boat with a guy to Catalina. They were fishing for sharks, and it wasn't his boat, and the other guy's boat belonged to like a club where they all shared like a boat, and nobody like owned it or whatever, but they didn't like really take good care of it. And it was just the two of them. They go on this boat, and the engine dies, the radio doesn't work, and they're just drifting. And I mean, they're drifting for hours, and they have like no means of rescue. And Dad's like imagining, where are we going to end up? And he always told me he's going to end up in Tahiti. That's what he imagines, what he plotted out. So he took the radio apart, and he started figuring out how to transmit SOS by shorting two wires together. And eventually the Coast Guard acknowledged his SOS, and they located him and rescued him. But close calls like that, and he had no problem going offshore, and he didn't buy perfect boats. Every boat he bought, he needed something done to it.
Only one perfect
Right. One perfect boat, yeah. But usually he bought a good deal, that he'd have to ship a long ways and do a lot of work on. And that's just kind of, he was a fix-it guy. He didn't talk a lot about his legacy or concerns about, life and death and, that kind of thing. But, he has a significant legacy. All you guys here, everybody here is family. If you don't know, he's built a lot of houses and condominiums and, from Mexico to, throughout California. So, there's people living in his legacy. He'd continue to tell me, just even recently, oh yeah, I did that thing in Seal Beach in, the 70s, and he'd describe in detail, all the planning and decision making and, how to get these regulations changed so that he could fit unusual parking and, get an extra bathroom into this facility that, and how, I don't know, just a lot of details that most people probably wouldn't spend the time. But he was very much enjoyed problem solving. He was very good mathematically. He could solve any math problem in his head very quickly. And he just loved calculating things and figuring out how to get the most out of square footage, how to, make things very convenient for people, mainly I'm talking about real estate here, but just to developing. And, that's always kind of mesmerizing. It's like, really, you can just go buy some property and build a set of condominiums and have a bunch of people live in it? And, that's kind of fascinating as a kid, like, people really do that kind of thing. And he did it continually, and then, in the car business and whatever, he was always thinking about, some new thing, business-wise. I mean, how many businesses he owned? Did you guys know that he owned a steak restaurant? Wow. Yeah, how many people know that, right?
I know that.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, I mean, so bizarre. How many different companies did Jack Swindell, own or found or, be a partner in his life? And it's probably up there with the number of boats he owned, which I think is in the 3 digits for sure. I don't know, I had a few things I wanted to, just mentally talk about. Another thing you'll see on this tape is, he's a good-looking man, especially, in his younger years. And the first time I had any realization that he was, an attractive man, I was in the 8th grade, and there was a girl that I was fancy, you know, and she's in my class. And one day he dropped me off at school or something, or picked me up, and he goes, "That's your dad? He's really good looking." And I'm like, "What about me? What am I?" Anyway, so this is how good looking. How good looking was it? This is how good looking he was. So he passed away at like 5:30 a.m. And about, I don't know, so a couple hours later, they remove the IV and, you know, clean him up and, you know, make him look presentable. And we're sitting, Mike and I and Kathy, and we're in this small hospital room with him. And hours go by. And, you know, his face isn't covered or anything. We're just sitting there chatting, you know. And a doctor comes in, looks at Kathy and says, "How's he doing?" And she says, "Him? He passed away." And you never see the doctor back out of there. So embarrassed and red face. And as soon as he closes the door, I said, "Doctor, we're really actually kind of concerned about him. He's been really quiet." That would have been a terrible joke, but Dad would have really appreciated it. We were rolling in tears laughing, and Dad was there with us in spirit, laughing. You know, he had a very good sense of humor. You know, we're going to miss him terribly. He was definitely a patriarch of this family. You know, he was extremely generous with his time, you know, advice. He was very, very into whatever it was that we were doing, you know, whether it was with the grandkids or Mike and business and just, you know, anything. You know, he would want to talk and analyze and contemplate. And, you know, I really will miss, you know, watching baseball games with him and, you know, fishing and just anything, working on a car or something. You know, these are things that I was thinking about all the experiences we had, you know, where it's just he and I can't imagine with Kathy how many memories she has, where it's just he and Jack, and nobody else will know what happened, you know, and it's to you, it's like gold, a cherished memory. You know, I'm thinking about, you know, these funny things that happen, and really nobody else would appreciate it, but he and I were there, and now it's just me, and I have to, you know, keep those memories, his legacy in my heart, and I will. You know, that's how he lives on. Anyway, I'm really glad that you guys are all here, and if anybody else wants to come say anything, you know, we'd love to hear it. So, thank you.
You're good at improvising.
Yeah, I'll improvise. Please do. I can wait. I didn't prepare anything.
That's usually the best way when you don't prepare it. I didn't either.
Where's the microphone?
Right here.
All right.
I didn't realize there's a camera right.
I'm used to microphones.
It's okay.
I just want to say that Jack, you know, guys, when they have friends, you know, there's not much you can say about them, is that he was just a good guy.
Yeah.
He was a good man and a good guy. And I'm sure he was, you know, a lot more than that. But he just would do things that only a good person would do. And he'd call me up and say, "You got any room in your yard for this 40, 50-foot trailer?" I go, "Yeah, bring it over." And I'd end up selling things for him. And he always made sure that I made, and he was happy, and he was just good. All the way around, a good guy and a good man. And I'm very touched by his passing, but I know where he's at, and everything's going to be just fine. And I'm going to miss him, as many of you, and probably all of you are. So, just a good man, that's all I can say about that. Thank you.
So, yeah, I was just saying that I hadn't prepared anything, and that was kind of a conscious decision, because when I thought about saying something tonight, I really felt, you know, and everybody that knows me knows I love to talk. So, and I don't have any problem speaking. But it really, in my heart of hearts, I felt like I couldn't get the words out. And so, I just decided not to say anything. Cop out. But my dad, Jack, was a really unique guy. And I don't know, some people might have read what I wrote on Facebook. I tried to kind of capture his spirit. He was my best friend. He was, I talked to him, if either I would call him or he would call me every day. And we would talk about nothing or everything. My favorite things in life were to just drive with him in a crappy Camry down the highway, picking up titles from dealers. I mean, because we had millions of just great conversations and nothing conversations, and they're all treasured. And every time I came down to spend time with them, I think, and I've heard from a lot of his friends and other people that that felt the same way. They just liked being around him and liked talking to him, and they learned a lot always. And that's, I think I'm one of the most fortunate people on the planet, because I got to do that often. And I got to learn a lot and absorb a lot. And, like I said, my favorite things were just sitting by him and talking about basketball or poker or nothing, or coming up with a new business idea and analyzing it.
Video pizza.
Video pizza, yeah. That was his big idea. Was back in the day. We're going to do a video rental store with pizza. Combine the two together. It's a great idea, actually. But there's a saying that's really popular today. Everybody's probably heard, live your best life. And I think that my dad really embodied that saying. And I think, it's probably due to the way he was brought up and his upbringing with his brothers and sisters. And by the way, they're all here, and all of his brothers and sisters are here. And if you haven't met them or don't know them, and you love Jack, you'll love getting to know them. They're all gems. And but they had a really hard time, a really hard young life. And I hear stories about him before I was born, about how what he did, and how he went to work really early, and how he did things with whatever it was, car clubs or boats, or getting a job at 13 at the store, at the supermarket that Sue was just telling me about. He was a doer. He didn't just dream about stuff. He had big dreams. He probably had the biggest dreams, but he was a doer. So Nike probably ripped it off from him. He was, when they say just do it, that was really his mantra. When I was a little kid, I always had all these ideas, and spinning in my head, and he would always say, Mike, ideas are a dime a dozen. He said, value is created in doing. And he showed me that every single day by what Rob was saying. He was, in building houses. He wasn't an educated house builder or anything like that. I don't know how he built these things and built these condos, but he figured it out and did it. And it's the same thing. He wants a boat. He wanted to, start boating. Just get out and get a bigger boat. He had dreams of living on the ocean in Mexico. Great. Kathy and he will run down to Mexico and start shopping. To some of the videos, you'll see him out there shopping for houses in Mexico, and just do it. And so he taught me the value of doing. And it was a great example of that. And if you know him, that's one of the things that he would do it. I mean, look where we are right here, right? Anyhow, I do want. Okay, on a lighthearted note, when Rob and I were little kids, we used to go have weekends with my dad, and he would play this game with us, and we were too little to understand, so he was taking advantage of little kids. And he would always bet us something, and it was always something. He would bet us that, what time we would arrive back at his house. And we would always lose. He would always nail it, and we would always lose. And it was a couple of years of playing this, losing these bets. That one day, I finally realized that he's the driver, and why we were driving around the block 3 times to land. And he had a great sense of humor. And he loved spending time with us and his grandkids and all of his friends. He played another game most of his life, which was to see how far he could go on empty in a car.
Is that where he's in the car?
And he played this game. We would be white-knuckled on, like knowing we're going to run out of gas for like 20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles. And he's like, no, we're going to make it. And my whole life, we always made it. And it was always made it until a couple of years ago. We were down picking up titles down in San Diego or something like that, and driving back up to 15. And he's like, and I'm like, Dad, there's no way you're buried right now on that. And he's like, no, you're looking at it from the right side over here. You got to look at it from my angle over here, and the needle is over, different and everything. I'm like, I don't think so. We got as far, we ran out of gas in Escondido. And I'm not sure, Brandon, you might have even came up and got us that day. So that was the end. That was the end of probably a 40-year game that he played with me on that. I love him. I love him to death. And he was so dear to me, and dear to everyone else. And I know because I hear it from everyone. I mean, everybody that I know that he knew tells me, has told me what he meant to him. So I know how much he affected everyone. And I appreciate everybody's thoughts in the last year. It was a really tough time. It was a tough time for him and a tough time for Kathy and for all of us. But he was a fighter, and that's what he wanted to do. And he fought, and he fought the good fight. And we love him. We'll never forget him. And everything that he taught me, and everything that everybody else learned, we'll always hold in our hearts. And he'll always be with me. And I have a life. I've got more than a lifetime of knowledge and memory and lessons and things. So, thank you.
Yay.
Hi guys, my name's Keith, and I'm a friend of Jack's. We met about 15 years ago at Paradise Chevrolet. We used to compete buying cars from them wholesale until we realized we make better allies than we do enemies. So we started tag teaming the cars. He'd pick one, I'd pick one. The owner didn't know, so we'd go in and underbid each other, and he'd buy one, I'd buy one. And that started a really long-term relationship. As time went on, we ended up buying the one boat that didn't need repair. We bought a Riviera, which we were partners on for many years, and we had great times with Rob and Mike on it, and family and friends fishing. And I can remember being down in Mexico with him, me, and Mike McLaren. We left it down there for 90 days. Jack figured out how we could buy it in Long Beach, but take delivery of it in international waters, which is about 9 miles, and then ship it to Mexico and avoid state sales tax, which was a lot of money. So we left it down there, and so we would drive down there. We had to leave it there for 90 days at the Corral in Ensenada, and we decided, Jack said, let's go into town. So we cabbed it into Ensenada, and here we are. Jack decides he wants to buy muscle relaxers. So we're cruising around all the pharmacies looking for illegal muscle relaxers. To say the least. What's that? And say again?
What was it for? Backache?
Oh, no, it was because he wanted to get stoned. I was afraid to go to jail. I was too little to go to jail in Mexican prison. He's a big guy, I'm only 5'5". I don't want to be nobody's date in Mexico. Anyway, so we spent a lot of time down there together, and I used to think Jack was more like MacGyver. I mean, there was one time he and I and our good friend Sean, I know Rob was with us, we went fishing to a bank for yellowtail called the 43, and we were trolling with these Rapala lures that had treble hooks. Well, it was rough, and as the lure came flying over, they're very sharp, caught me in the thumb, and the hook with the barb went through my thumb and out the other side. So I'm sitting there looking at this big barb hook through my thumb, and I'm turning white, and we're 50 miles out in the ocean, and Jack just says, "Oh," he grabs a pair of dikes, he cuts off the barb, and he says, "Bite down," look like this, and he goes, he pulls it out. And I said, "Oh, are we going home?" He goes, "No, we're going to keep fishing." So, you know, there was nothing that going out in the ocean that Jack wasn't capable of doing. In any situation, I always felt confident, and he was a great tutor to me, and he gave me a lot of confidence being in the water, and I loved him as a partner and as a friend. And the one thing he did do was give me terrible habits in eating. We tried to eat healthy, and every time we'd go down to the boat, all he'd want to do was go to the Wiener Schnitzel. I'd never been to the Wiener Schnitzel, and we would get kielbasi, I think it was kielbasi sandwiches on rye bread. He goes, "Oh man, you gotta have one of these." And every time we'd go down to the boat in Mission Bay, we'd get a kielbasi and on rye bread sandwich at the Wiener Schnitzel. So, I mean, he had terrible eating habits. But anyway, Jack was a great friend, and he was a great mentor to me in business, life, and I'm going to miss him dearly.
Hi there. I know most of you don't know who I am, but my name is Mary Schickling, and I live on Catalina Island. So I would just like to speak to all of you as a newbie to Jack's life. Because I only met the man on Catalina Island, like, what, Kathy, how long was that, like 9 years ago, something like that?
I think about 9.
Yeah, somewhere around there, you know? But it was like, the minute that I met these guys, and I met them through Kim and Eddie Hall, who have been way more connected with this family than I, only because of their proximity now in Chino Hills, and I don't know, maybe more, I don't know. But anyway, I met them because they lived out in Hamilton Cove and all of that kind of stuff. And the minute that I met Kathy and Jack, it was just like I had known them forever. You know, we all hit it off so well. And Jack is such a freaking goofball, it's crazy. And Kathy is no slouch either. You know, we shared so many great times just from them being on the island sporadically. You know, I've lived on the island for 25 years, and I've met a ton of people come and go on that island. But I swear to God, these people were way different, just way more connected, way more. I loved it when they came over, and we got together whenever they came over. And I met, you know, the grandkids when they were teeny weenies, and I think my daughter it did braids in their hair and stuff like that. You know, and it was just like and Jack just, he had this great, easygoing, loving, infectious personality. So when I saw that whole March of Dimes auction thing, it was just like, oh, well, hell yeah, you gotta fall in love with that. Seriously, their love, Kathy's and Jack's love, was one of the most amazing things I've ever witnessed. And so I know, honey, it's, my heart just breaks so much for you. Because it was just something you just don't get. But you know what, honey? You were so lucky to have it for as long as you had it. And those of us that were on the periphery, we had it not the same way. But you know, he was a loving soul. He was an amazing human being. And I was honored to be invited to his 70th birthday party. And I think I met a lot of you here, but you know, I don't know. You meet a lot of people in school. But I'm honored to be here today too, to just remember an incredibly remarkable human being, and to share this with all of you that knew him a lot better than I do, and loved him just as much as I do in the short time that I knew him. So, my love to everyone here. Thank you. Hi. I would have never done this, but I'm doing this for Mike McLaren. Because
That's the old guy in the beard.
he and Jack had a long-term relationship. Through good and bad, through a lot of stony nights. The first time I was very blessed to meet these people. Oh my God, this goes back a while because I was new to Duluth, and Kathy and Jack were up here, and I met Mike on a golf course, and he was just a weirdo. But I hung in there because Mike and Kathy and Jack were so cool. But I truly am speaking just because I know Mike would really like to say things he can't. So I have trouble too, because we all love them all, and we had wonderful times with you guys like Catalina. We all love Jack and Kathy so very much. Thank you very, very much for a wonderful friendship, a wonderful love of family and friends here tonight, and God bless.
You got up there. And even though you did this too.
All right, hi guys.
All right.
Mind if I sit here? All right, so I met Jack in 1997. In Conlubentune, I was working at the Conlubentune Temecula, and I did all their smog checks. And he came in, he was buying and selling cars, and I'd smog them all. And this guy came in week after week with the coupon in his hand every time. And you know, after about 30, 40 cars, I started talking to him. He started talking to me, and he's always dressed flip-flops, I think, and casual, just shorts and
Randy never wore flip-flops.
White
t-shirt.
Birkenstock,
yes, exactly. And just a casual guy, but just like selling, buying cars. Anyway, so I got to know him, and then ended up introducing me to other guys in the group, and other car guys, and John over here, and just known him for like that for a few years, and then I went into business for myself after about 3 years of working for somebody else, and then I went into the smog business, doing my own business, and he kept bringing me car after car after car, and then one day he goes, hey, I got this motorhome. Kathy's dad was driving it down from Redding, and it blew up. The engine blew up. You want to buy it? And I said, oh, maybe I might want to do it. So I ended up buying it, and I paid him back $40 at a time for smogs, like over the period of like 5 years. Just did smog after smog. You needed them, so I paid him off for this motorhome, put an engine in, and I used that thing for many years. It was great. And that was our relationship for a long time. And then, so like 10 years in, my smog business went downhill. And then, he always offered me help. He says, hey, you need help, this and that. And I borrowed money from him once or twice and helped me through some tough times. And then I got out of it and paid him back. Seems like $40 at a time. or one car repair at a time, you know what I mean? So, he was great. And one day, I went out to Arizona, and I got a boating ticket, and I never took care of it. And in Arizona, you can't not take care of a ticket out there. And I got pulled over for some other thing, and they're like, oh, you have a ticket from like 3 years ago. You never took care of it. You're going to jail. So I got my truck impounded. I'm going to the jail, and in the jail cell, you can't call a cell phone number. You have to call a landline. And so I either had to call my mom and dad, or I happen to just know Jack and Kathy's home number. I definitely don't want to call my mom and dad because I needed $500 in bail money to get out.
Brandon, what year is this? I remember it vividly in the living room.
It was.
When you called. What year was it?
Oh, it must have been at least, 15 years, 13, 15 years ago. So I called. I don't remember who answered the phone, but I was like, oh. And he broke out his credit card and paid my bail, and I was out of jail, and I had to go to the bail bondsman, and I had to sign the paperwork, and I was like, I owe this man a debt of gratitude forever. And that's how I feel to this day. I owe this man a lot. It's just a little favor, and I took care of my boat ticket 2 months later, and he got his money back for the bail, and it was no big deal, But it was just a super personal favor that lasts, I owe him forever for that. So anyway, so 2 years ago, I think it was, he called me and said, hey Brandon, I need a favor. I said, you got it, Jack, whatever. I got a boat in Catalina, and it runs about, 30, 40 minutes, and it just dies. I need you to go with me and help me figure out what's wrong with this boat. And I'm like, name the time, let's go. So 3 weeks later, we hit the ferry, we go out there, and on the Saturday, we stay the night. He says, hey, we'll go out, we'll stay the night at the condo, and we'll get up in the morning, and we'll drive the boat back, and if it breaks down, just bring whatever tools you think you need, and we'll try to get it back to Long Beach. So, we go out there, and I bring all my bag of tools, and we go out, and he takes me to the condo, and then we take the golf cart, and we go to the town. And there's like a bar there that he likes to go to. Oh, let's go here. So we just do some pool, and we have some beers, and he's like, oh, you gotta have a shot. And I don't drink much. So I have a shot or two, and I was just like, oh, this is great. This is a great time. Well, we go home, and he's driving the golf cart, and he's intoxicated driving the golf cart through the town, back to the condo, And it's like a good mile, from the bar to the condo, and but we made it okay. And, so we go to sleep, and we get up in the morning, go get breakfast, get to the boat, get it going, and it's almost perfect. It's like halfway out, boom, the thing dies. The middle of the water, and the storm's coming in.
Oh boy.
And we knew the storm was coming in, and it's choppy, it's getting worse, and it's just like, okay, my turn to fix the boat. So I go down into the cubby, and I'm pulling off the panel, and I'm like trying to figure out what circuit blew, and you kind of knew what it was, but you didn't know what it was. And I'm like sitting in there, and it's rocking back and forth, and I'm not feeling too good. Because I'd been drinking the night before a little bit too much, right? So we get it going again, and I was like, okay, I'm out. The back of the boat's filling up, and he's driving, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel too good. And then he goes, you know what, Brendan? I just realized I don't have the key to the truck. So when we get back to the harbor in Long Beach, we have no way to get the boat onto the trailer. So we have a choice to make here. We can like go back to Catalina, or we can continue on and call a locksmith when we get there. And I'm like, oh man. And then we didn't know if the boat was even going to make it much further, so we turned around. We turned around and went back to the harbor, and Catalina, docked it. Then we went back to the condo looking for the keys. Can't find the keys. Still can't find the keys. Looked everywhere. Oh well. We're going to have to just take the ferry and get a locksmith. So it was the longest, 14-hour day. But we get back, we got the locksmith, we got the truck made, and we got home. And it was the best time still that you could have it was chaos, but it was,
Yeah.
you know, it was a great time. And so, you know, that was a great memory 2 years ago. And, you know, that's how he was, you know, just, hey, don't sweat the small stuff. He told me that so many times in my career and working with him. He's like, you know what, life is life, man. Live it good and don't sweat the small stuff.
Yes.
So, anyway, good memories of Jack.
Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Palmer, Rebecca's husband. I met Jack about 11 years ago. Somebody came up here earlier and said, it's kind of like you met your best friend after the first day. Well, me and Jack talked about a lot of things. Since that time, I bought an airplane. He knows more about the goddamn plane than I do. He tells me what to buy, tells me what not to buy. We talked about business a lot. They came over to Hawaii, stayed in our place for a week. The things I miss most about Jack is if you're at your house and you got something that isn't working, something stupid, there's a plug or there's something.
Dishwasher.
Whatever. Yeah. And you call Jack and he'll say, well, you dumbass, you push this and push that and then it'll work again. And what I'm saying is, he had such a talent, and the old phrase, a master of some, he was a master of all. Our house in Hawaii, my wife has to paint every room a different damn color. So we got some marks on the wall. We got paint after paint after paint after paint him and I in the garage, but we don't have that paint. Well, he says, here, I'll show you how to do it. So he sat there and mixed these different colors till he come up with this color. It was the damnedest thing I'd ever saw. Anyway, Jack was a great guy. I'm going to miss him a lot. They don't make him like that anymore. He lived his own world. He didn't care what he said when he said it. I've always liked that about him, and
Yes.
I'm going to miss him a lot. Thanks.
Okay, what year were you born? My wife was 67. So when he didn't walk at 8.5 months, I figured, you know, it was a failure. You know, I mean, that was, you know, you were the benchmark. You know, but there was this little redheaded girl who was doing everything first, you know, talking and whatever, and Betty was going on and on. It was amazing. I walked it 1 year. Yeah. Good night.
You didn't finish your food.
I would take it.
Careful, Logan.
Put them down.
What did you do?
Mike, I need to get you. Hang on, Mike, over here.
The rainbow. Rainbow.
Yeah, so Kathy.
5, 5, 8, 4, 5, 8, 9.
You still ready?
5, 5, 8, 9. 2, 8, 2, 9, 6, 8.
I was gonna say, I'll take a picture.
Oh my God!
Hey everybody, if you want to see a rainbow, we're going to call it Jack's Rainbow.
Come on, sing.
Rainbows after it rains?
Maybe it's raining over there.
I saw it. I saw it. You don't
I got it, Kathy, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, okay.
I got it.
I wouldn't even bother.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, I don't even, I've not had my phone when I got here. I probably just need to not I don't know. Because they said it was going to be this overcast weather this day. And I'm like, I don't. But it's still
I mean, what I wanted to say is, I was trying to say some other stuff. Yeah, but he taught me when I was really young. And he didn't ever said, he never said, hey, don't live your life like an mole. That. He just never was in the program. He was just always, he had his own thing, he had his own vision, and his vision changed all the time. He had a new thing, hey, I want to do this now, and I want to do that, and then he would make it happen. And it wasn't, and so that's kind of the whole idea of just doing, he's like, and it's like, hey, make a decision, commit to it, and do it, and he wasn't afraid of it. A lot of it is, his growing up, he grew up that way, and you think about him as a person, he was, that's just the way he was, and that was his first career. Yeah.
I didn't know that he knew what he was.
Built a lot of stuff. Yeah. And he was so funny because, you know, like when I was a kid, like I go over and he'd have all these, you know, blueprints out, these plans for some complex and all that. And he's like, and he's drawing it, he's doing it. I'm like, architect, what are you doing this? He's like, oh, well, I got an architect. He'll do it. But he would do it first. He would do it first. You know, yeah, he would do it first right, and then, you know, give it to the architect, and the architect would finish it. You know, yeah, and then, but, you know, if he wanted to build turn that porch into a bathroom, he would just go out there and do it. You know, I should have told the story about how we were, Bo and I, he came over a couple years ago, and we were really space challenged. In Santa Cruz Beach, we have this really nice house, but it's just kind of, it's just super space challenged. We have a lot of storage and that kind of stuff. And, you know, I told Ed, I said, yeah, you know, look at it. I said, I think that there's a point into this staircase right there. We're in the dining room, and we didn't have a pantry. I think that there's a void in there. I think we could probably do that. And he goes, hey, go get me a hammer. So I went to the garage and I brought out the hammer, and he walks up to my wife, you know, like Bo's sitting in there, yeah, in the kitchen and all that, and he goes, BAM! knocks a hole in it and everything like that, and he's like, yeah, what are you doing? Yeah, he's like, this is my dining room. Yeah, and he's like, yeah, there's a good void in there. He goes, you know, and all that. And then, and he's like, yeah, we could do all that.
Now you have to do the
totally, there's a hole in there. And then he's like, he's like, well, I think we're gonna leave tonight. So, you know.
But I got you started, you'll be fine.
I finished it. I did it. I did the whole thing and all that. But boy, it was like, yeah, for like a year we had a tapestry hanging over that thing. Yeah.